This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Welcome back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. As you know, I do a segment called Shine a Light. I pick a person, an organization, or corporation who's doing something to better the human condition, or to let us know how they live through, with resilience, all the obstacles that they've had to overcome in their life. Today, I have a man, Johnny L. O'Brien Jr., who was born in Mound Bayou. That says it all, I think, right there. Mound Bayou, like the old candy mounds. And his life turned out to be an uphill struggle, climbing up a mound or a hill or a mountain. He was born to parents that were alcoholics, they were abusive. He had to sleep on wire coils with rags on top of them growing up. It was 11 children born to the union of his parents. 1 died and 10 lived. There was a time when his mother was offered help from the government to keep them and to better them, and she walked out, and they had to end up in foster care. Thank you for being here with me, Mr. Johnny O'Brien. His book is From Rags, and he really means they wore rags, to spiritual riches. He has been a father. He is the father of a young man who plays basketball for the Milwaukee Bucks, Johnny L. O'Brien III, who they have now come back together and found each other after years of separation. Tell me your story, and tell me how that feels to be reunited with your son.
It feels wonderful to be reunited. I eventually, due to my addiction,
you were a drug and an alcohol both, but you
Yes.
never used heroin, which is the drug of choice today.
No, I never used heroin. I never used intravenously. But my wife and I separated, and my son was around 8 or 9 years old at the time, and we didn't get back together until actually he came to LSU. And he asked me would I come here and support him on his
So that
journey.
was about 5 years ago, because he's graduated and now plays basketball.
Yes, it was 4 years ago. He played for 3 years, got drafted last year.
Okay.
And he invited me to come back, and I was kind of shocked and amazed that he wanted me back. I had been out of his life for several years. And he told me that he needed me to support him on his journey.
Yes.
And so I came, and
How did that make you feel? It gave you more of a purpose for your life. You were not an addict anymore. You were clean?
yes,
he
I
called
was.
you.
I was.
Okay.
I had just started my journey.
And you're in AA, and you give that a lot. The 12-step program, I think you talk about in the book.
Yes.
And that has helped you a lot in your life get off of all the bad habits you were doing. Is that correct?
It has.
With God, of
Yes,
course,
with
leading
God.
the way.
Yes.
Faith, what's the name? Faith something church?
Faith Chapel Church of
Faith
God
Chapel
in
Church.
Baton Rouge.
Okay, tell me, I know you're a strong member of, and you're a minister yourself, or studying to be, correct?
Yes, I'm studying to be a minister, and our pastor, Pastor Bartholomew Riggins, who recently received his doctorate.
Because I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this about 10 months now, and taping 9 months. And this man, he called me, Coach Dale Brown, from LSU, recommended he call me for the show. I was on season break when he called me. And I was off for about a month and a half. And he called and emailed and texted, and I finally told him, do not call me anymore. I will call you when I'm off for season break. And I mean, he was determined to be on the show. And I applaud you for your persistence, but did not call you when I was ready to come back off season break.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And thank you.
You're welcome. So continue with the story, because the story is phenomenal to me when I was reading this book.
Well, when I got here, I asked my son, I asked him why did he decide to choose LSU? Because being
He lived here in Baton Rouge?
No, he was from Mississippi.
From-
He was ranked number 49 overall in the nation. And
Was he an All-American?
He was, and could have went anywhere. And I was like, well, why did you choose LSU? He was like, well, Dad, you used to live in Shreveport. I figured if I chose LSU, you could make it to some of my games.
Ah.
And
Did he have a stepfather? Did your wife remarry?
she did.
So he did have a stepfather, but it still wasn't like his father.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I got here, and I wanted to find a church home, and I found Faith Chapel. My son and I, we made a pact to meet every day. I mean, not every day, once a week. I attended all the games. and we worked through our differences and became great friends. We supported one another on I supported him on his personal journey. He supported me on mine.
One tribute I have to give to your ex-wife is the fact that she never talked bad about you, because from others he had heard a lot of bad things about his father.
Correct. My son, he told me, he said, Dad, he said, Mom never said anything bad about you. He said other family members did, but she always lifted you up and always told me how great of a person you were.
Tell me, for people to get this book, what do they do, Johnny, to get this, to help them through their tragedies they're going through?
I have books in Cottonwood Books on Perkins Road.
Spell that for me, for them.
Cotton, C-O-T-T-O-N.
Okay.
W-O-O-D, Cottonwood Books.
Okay.
On Perkins Road.
Okay, now we have an audience, you know, we go to YouTube, we're a statewide program now, we go all over Louisiana, so tell me where else they can get it. Can they order it? Can they get it?
I have a website,
okay.
www.fibersoflife.org. That's FIBERSOFLIFE.org. Fibersoflife.org.
Fibersoflife.org. You can order this book, and I would recommend for people to get this for father and son bond, and I think it will make your life better. Thank you very much, Johnny, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dianne.
The odds of this daughter of a clergyman spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org.
Mark! Anna! Ooh! Hey! Forgot your lunch. Hey!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you.
Order your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.
Join me, Dianne Andrews of Dianne Andrews in Black and White. We're featuring this month Immigration, a Cuban's Journey. We're also doing acupuncture. We're doing chronic back pain with a chiropractor also. We're doing transgender. Hey, if you want to say I am Kate, we're going to have issues dealing with I am Kate. Come on and join me. We're all over the state, and we're the largest talk show as far as geographical area in the state. Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Look it up on your TV listings. Hi, thanks for coming back to us in Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Today we're covering something that is very important to what I call urban game changers. I do a series on urban game changers, and today we're at Southern University, where we're doing my brother, Dr. Donald Andrews, is sponsoring his second Advancing Leadership in Economic Development seminar. It's a 3-day seminar, and I'm going to let him talk to you about that later. But also, I'm very pleased for us to have with us our State Director of Rural Development for the USDA, appointed by President Obama. So this is a real big deal, and he's my homeboy. So let's give you a chance to talk, Mr. Clarence Hawkins.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, to the Andrews family, fellow Morehouse Parish folks, right?
That's right.
Well, you know, we're in the service business just as you guys are, and it's an honor for me to have been appointed to this position. I've been in public service all my life, serving people, and that's what we all should be doing. But my role now is to serve as State Director for Rural Development, and we're working on trying to develop the economy and the quality of life for rural citizens throughout the state. We do everything from the ground to a town, water systems, houses, businesses, infrastructure for communities, hospitals, schools. We can do it all. So we ask those folks who are in non-metropolitan areas to give us a call. And we're listed on the web, rd.usda.gov, and you can find us there.
Okay, sounds great. Now, how many people have this position around the country that President Obama appoints?
There are 47 of us.
Okay.
There are 47 of us. Some states are paired, 2 or 3 in a group, but we're fortunate here in Louisiana that there's only one. I'm the first African American to have been appointed to that
Congratulations.
with the assistance of our legislative delegation, especially, and good shout outs to Senator Karen Carter Peterson, who was instrumental in my appointment as well as former Senator Mary Landrieu.
Okay. Well, that's a great honor, and I'm sure you're very deserving of it, and you're going to do a great job, for the rural people in the state of Louisiana.
That's our goal and our attempt. Thank you for having us on,
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to participate in this conference.
Dr. Andrews, tell me, why did you start this conference?
Well, we wrote a grant to U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, and we're trying more or less to outreach to the community in terms of providing jobs, training, research that we do. And basically this conference is a networking conference, and we more or less want to reach out and engage the community in terms of what the university has to deliver. This is a University Economic Development Center. And so our goal is to provide economic development throughout the state of Louisiana, but we're concentrating here in Baton Rouge and Northeast Louisiana in terms of trying to make them more successful in terms of the organizations. We have several mayors here today, and so this conference has Ambassador James Joseph, who is a former ambassador to South Africa. We have Dr. Ralph Christie from Cornell. We have Dr. Richard McCline from the Fanning Institute in Georgia. So this is going to be a great program dealing with leadership. Leadership is so important in organizational structures, both private, public, as well as nonprofit. And Ambassador Joseph has extensive experience in all those. And we're just so fortunate to have Mr. Clarence Hawkins here with us because he has such a great agenda in terms of what he's accomplishing throughout the state of Louisiana in terms of rural development. And rural development touches really 44 parishes, I know, and probably more than that.
Right. I didn't say Dr. Andrews is Dean of Business here at the Southern University. I recently interviewed Dr. Ron Mason, who is departing Southern University, but he was telling me, we were talking about the online colleges, Dr. Andrews, and he said that there are several master's programs, public policy, and are you doing an MBA online now?
We're involved with the MBA online program.
Right. He mentioned the College of Business. So for people who don't know, and let me tell you what I didn't know, and you'll hear it on the interview in the show with Dr. Mason. He accomplished a lot of great things here in his 5-year tenure at the Southern University system. That there are junior colleges here in Baton Rouge and in other parts of the country and other parts of the state that are attached to Southern University. 1,000 people attend Southern University Baton Rouge in the junior college system. He says it's so invisible they don't even know that they're in the junior college system. So that's one way. BRCC has no housing, but of course here at Southern University there is housing for people in online and in junior colleges. So I was very happy to hear that. So thank you very much. We're going to be interviewing some more people. This is a 3-day event, and Donald has got a lot of great people from around the world because Ambassador Joseph still lives part-time in South Africa, Donald? Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll be talking to you all and looking forward to talking to and hearing what you have to say and working with you, Mr. Hawkins. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Mark! Anna! Ooh! Hey! Forgot your lunch. Hey.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you.
My cell phone number and John's cell phone number. Hey, pretty. And number of the restaurant where we're going to be. And I've left you my pager number too, just in case, because you never know. John, you have the gift?
The odds of a babysitter calling 911, 1 in 1,400.
Anything should happen. Please don't hesitate.
The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 150. You know the odds of autism. Now learn the signs. Go to autismspeaks.org.
your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.
Thank you very much for coming back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I've interviewed quite a few people in my tenure on television, but never an ambassador before. I have with me today Ambassador James A. Joseph, who is ambassador to South Africa under Nelson Mandela's term. Our president at the time, President Clinton, Bill Clinton, appointed him. Tell me what that was like, Ambassador.
Well, thank you
And
very
thank
much.
you for being here.
I'm delighted to be with you. I have done a lot of things in my life, but it was a thrill of my life to have the opportunity to work with Nelson Mandela. I had been very heavily involved in the anti-apartheid movement for most of my adult life. And so when Mandela was finally freed from prison, it just turns out that on the day that de Klerk announced that he'd be set free, I was standing outside of Parliament with the Free Mandela sign. So I had no...
In Parliament in South Africa?
Yes, in Cape Town, South Africa. I had no idea that at some point President Clinton would ask me to be the ambassador. But it was an opportunity to work with one of the great leaders of our time in building a democracy.
Now, were you living in Cape Town at the time?
Well, actually, I was not. I had visited Cape Town many times, but I was living in Washington, D.C. area in Virginia. I was president of the Council on Foundations, and President Clinton asked me to be his ambassador.
What an honor, and what a tremendous time to be there in South Africa during that era, to see what the transformation of South Africa.
It was, and it was not just Nelson Mandela, but it was all of the leaders of the liberation movement who had been in exile, coming home to take over the leadership of their country. Many of these people I had met in exile and had supported in it when they were in exile, but here they were, taking over the leadership of their country.
Well, you know, I always like to go back and give de Klerk he had some vision, and he knew what to do to keep South Africa as a country.
Well, de Klerk deserves a lot of credit.
Yes.
He is the one who persuaded the white citizens of South Africa that the time for change had come. Unfortunately, when he continued in the new Nelson Mandela government, he was the leader of the opposition. And many people begin to see him as a hack politician rather than remembering the role that he had played in the freedom of Mandela.
Right. And I think we have to give him credit, but then, you know, people's egos get in the way now that Nelson Mandela became the leader.
Oh, well, it wasn't so much, I guess his ego was part of the problem, because to step down from being the president to being a deputy vice president is a remarkable thing to see a leader do. But he was concerned about the future of his country, and he understood that South Africa could not continue to be a successful nation state, and particularly have a successful economy, if they continued the practice of apartheid. So there was a lot of self-interest involved, and a lot of the people who supported him realized it was in enlightened self-interest.
And he knew, as you said, he still wanted to keep South Africa as a vibrant and growing part of the world. I also know Ambassador Joseph. I'm a writer also. I've written a book, Gumbo for the Heart. Ambassador Joseph is one of the 25 people in these 25 vignettes that I've interviewed. And I know that he is a Louisiana native, as he is from down here, down south Louisiana. He also currently up until a couple of years ago, was living in Cape Town, South Africa, and working at Duke University. And now his lovely wife, who I'm going to ask to come up here in just a moment, they're living in Sarasota, Florida, and you still work at Duke University. Is that correct?
Well, for a number of years, I worked at both Duke University and the University of Cape Town. So we lived part of the year in Cape Town and part of the year in North Carolina. But I am adjusting my pace. Some people say retirement, but for me it's just adjusting my pace.
Yeah, some of us never retire.
And so we have discontinued the practice of living in Cape Town, and we now are living between Sarasota, Florida, and Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
I want to tell you why they're here right now. They're supporting Dean Andrews, as we talked about yesterday, his Economic Development Forum, his seminar. This is his second year of that forum to increase economic power in the state of Louisiana. So we thank you for coming for the forum, Ambassador. And what lovely wife, Miss Joseph, Miss Mary Joseph, please come on up front. Yeah. Y'all want me in the middle, the short one?
You know, I thank you so much for
Oh,
inviting
thank you.
me. I couldn't resist. You know, my background is
Right.
media. I was a television journalist for a
Right.
number of years. We have to get in a plug for the ambassador's upcoming book.
Tell them. Sure, we sure do. I didn't know. Tell
Yeah,
us.
well, the people in Louisiana will be pleased to know that I have succumbed to the temptation and at least the urging of my former students and fellows in my leadership program, and I put my thoughts in print. And Duke University Press is publishing my book, which will be released in early September. There are several chapters on what it was like growing up in Louisiana, but most of it are the insights I have gained from my experiences.
Well, that's wonderful. So we'll be looking forward to reading the book and pushing it on my show here.
And the name of the book is Saved for a Purpose.
And the subtitle is A Journey from Private Virtues to Public Values. So it's really about ethics in private and public life.
What a wonderful book. Now, Mary, let's talk about you a little bit. Tell me, how was it for you to live in South Africa and then part-time in North Carolina, where at Chapel Hill is the city that you all lived in. Tell me about that, and then tell me a little bit about what you're doing now today.
Well, it was a dream come true to be able to live in South Africa, especially during the Mandela era.
Yes.
I mean, we saw the creation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We were there when the Constitution was
You all have to excuse some of the noise. We're at the seminar, so you may hear some background noise. I apologize.
So we were there when the Constitution was created. It's one of the best in the world. Every day it was like history unfolding right before your very eyes. And so it was a tremendous experience, and I can't say enough about Mr. Mandela. He's everything you ever heard of and more. He taught us a lot about diplomacy, about integrity. I mean, it was a real experience. Living after that between Cape Town and Chapel Hill, North Carolina was also fun. You know, one semester we were at Duke, and the second semester we were at the University of Cape Town. And you can live in two homes, but you have to remember where you bought the aluminum foil.
Yeah, I know a lady, she had two homes. She would buy double everything. So she never felt missing anything because she had it twice at both places.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you have to
Yeah.
do. And as I mentioned, I'm a former television journalist.
Right.
I now am devoting my blood, sweat, and tears to electing more women to the North Carolina legislature. We are 54% of the population, and yet we're less than 25% of the North Carolina legislature. And we believe basically, if you're going to change the policy, you've got to change the policy makers. So
That's
I'm
right.
working to recruit, train, and support women to run for elective office in North Carolina.
That's a subset of Emily's list for
Yes,
your
yes.
state.
It's-
Lillian's List
Yes,
is
it's
the name
called
of it?
it's called Lillian's List. We've been around for 17 years. We started as a PAC, a political action committee. Now we have an action fund, and we're beating the bushes to find women to persuade them to run. You know, you have to ask most women to run 3 times because we don't think our skills are transferable,
Right.
but they're very transferable. If
Right.
you want to get something done, ask a woman.
Give it to a woman.
Right.
That's true.
So that's where I'm devoting my efforts now, and thanks to my wonderful husband
Right.
who supports these efforts, I'm able to really get in there and work.
That sounds really great, and I'm happy to hear about Lillian's List. Is there anything you would like to leave
Well,
us with?
I was just going to say about working to get women into public office. There was a slogan in South Africa in the 1950s when the women rallied around the executive office building, and the slogan was, "When you touch a woman, you touch a rock."
That's true.
And so I think that's a good slogan for what she's trying to do.
I think so too, and I think they have the right woman, and she'll be a great spokesman, being an ex-commentator. Is there anything we want to get you back in September when your book comes out? When you're back down this way, Ambassador?
I'd very much love to do that. It'll be a surprise to many people that I have done as many things I have done.
I know some of them, and it was quite a lot.
And I have learned as much as I have, and so I will be sharing the insights from being in government, being in business, being in nonprofit sector, working as a diplomat, et cetera, et cetera. And each of those provided learning experiences that I think will be helpful to those people who are trying to understand the role of ethics in public life.
And I think that's really, at the end of the day, that's what we need to do, is learn and grow. And if we can do that, we'll all make this a better world. Thank you from Dianne Andrews in Black and White.
Order your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.
Here we go.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you.
Come join me, Dianne Andrews of Dianne Andrews in Black and White. We're featuring this month Immigration, a Cuban's Journey. We're also doing acupuncture. We're doing chronic back pain with a chiropractor also. We're doing transgender. Hey, if you want to take I Am Kate, we're going to have issues dealing with I Am Kate. Come on and join me. We're all over the state, and we're the largest talk show as far as geographical area in the state. Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Look it up on your TV listings.